Welcome back. I'm Travis with Linux Academy. In the previous lesson, we learned about how we can use environment variables to make settings changes on a container. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to use build arguments to parameterize a Docker file. Build arguments allow us to set build time variables, and these variables can be used throughout the Docker file. We're able to use args at build time. That's when we go and execute a Docker image build, and we do this by using the build arg flag. And it takes a key value pair. We can use multiple build arguments when building an image. All you have to do is supply the build argument again and supply the key value pair. We also need to set the build argument in the Docker file. We do this by using the arg instruction, which takes the name of the argument and the default value. And this default value can be overwritten at build time using the build arg flag. So we're going to get started by cding into the Docker images directory. We're going to create the directory called args, and then cd into the args directory. Next, we're going to clone the weather app source code. Then use vi to create a new Docker file. The instructions we'll be using can be found in the description of this video. Let's break down the instructions we'll be using. Starting at the top, I have a description of what this Docker file is going to be used for. We're going to be going and building an image for the weather app. Every Docker file starts off with the from instruction, and we'll be using node as the base image. Next, I'm using a label to set the version of the application, which is v1.1. Now we're ready to supply our build arguments, and I do this by using the arg instruction. And the arg instruction takes a key value pair, which is going to be the name of the argument, in this instance, source_dir, and the default value is going to be set to var node. This means that if no build argument flag is supplied during the Docker image build, var node will be used by default. Next, I have a run instruction that is going to go and create the source directory. The way we reference our build argument variable is by using $ and then the name of the variable. Next, I'm using the add instruction to copy the weather app code into the source directory. Now I'm using the workdir instruction to set source directory as the working directory of the container. Then we use run to execute an npm install. Using the expose command, expose port 3000, because this is the port that the weather app listens on. Finally, we use the cmd instruction to supply the start command. Now that we're done, save and exit out of the file. Now we're going to go and build a new image using the Docker file we just created. Execute a Docker image build. We'll tag the image using the T flag, and the name of the image is going to be Linux Academy /weather-app, and v3 will be the tag. Next, we'll supply the build argument using the build arg flag. The name of the argument is source_dir, and we're setting it equal to /var/code. And the name of this argument is matching up with what we defined in the Docker file. Finally, we end this command with a period, and that's because the Docker file is found within the current directory that we're in. Now we can go and verify that the working directory was set properly by executing a Docker image inspect on the image we just created, and then grepping for working directory. It is being set to var code, so we know it's working right. However, I want to point out that if the working directory was not set properly, the build would have failed. And this is because we execute an npm install, and that command is being executed in the working directory. And if that code wasn't present, the build simply would have failed because there was nothing for it to run against. Now let's go and run a container using the image we just built. We'll be naming it weather-app, and we'll be publishing port 8085 to port 3000 on the container. Now we can go and verify that the container is working by executing curl on localhost 8085. We are getting HTML back, so everything is working. To quickly recap, we learned how to go and define a build argument in the Docker file by using the arg instruction. We're also able to go and overwrite the default value of a build argument by using the build arg flag when executing a Docker image build. That's all I have for this lesson. Go ahead and mark it complete.